Ladies and gentlemen, imagine buying a brand new Volkswagen Beetle Convertible in 1979, driving it home, parking it in the garage, and then apparently deciding that driving your new car is an optional feature. No road trips, no grocery runs, no rainy commutes, no awkward first dates, not even a Sunday cruise for ice cream. 46 years later, the odometer shows only 266 miles or 428 kilometers. The protective plastic is still on the seats. The paint still looks astonishingly fresh, and the car has survived disco, cassette tapes, mullets, $5 coffee, smartphones, and politicians promising that everything will be cheaper next year. This river blue metallic 1979 Volkswagen Super Beetle Convertible isn't merely low mileage. It is basically a brand new old Volkswagen that accidentally traveled through time while standing still. And if strange automotive stories like this are your kind of entertainment, subscribe to the channel and join us, because normal cars are everywhere. We prefer the machines with stories that make you stare at the screen and ask, who does that? Today we have an answer. Somebody who apparently had more self-control than every car enthusiast I have ever met. The Volkswagen Beetle story reaches much further back than this remarkable 1979 survivor. Its origins belong to Germany in the 1930s, and an early version appeared in 1938, although wartime conditions prevented the civilian automobile from immediately becoming the mass-produced people's car originally envisioned. After World War II ended in Europe in May 1945, civilian production of the Volkswagen Type 1 received approval that August. By the end of December, only 55 civilian examples had been completed. 55 cars sounds less like mass production and more like Timmy organizing a family reunion after his third divorce. From that tiny beginning came one of the greatest production stories in automotive history. The Beetle became inexpensive transportation that ordinary people could understand, operate, and maintain. More importantly, it developed a personality. At a time when American automobiles increasingly advertised themselves through chrome, horsepower, tail fins, and dimensions approaching those of municipal buildings, Volkswagen offered Americans a small German car and effectively told them that bigger was not automatically better. America eventually listened. The first two Beetles were imported into the United States in 1949. Just two. Yet during the following 3 decades, approximately 400 Beetles were sold in the United States and Canada combined. Production continued elsewhere long after the original German era had faded, and when the final Beetle left Volkswagen's Puebla, Mexico plant in 2003, total production had reached an extraordinary 21,529,464 examples. But by the late 1970s, the Beetle's American adventure was approaching its final curtain. Volkswagen was moving toward modern water-cooled cars such as the Rabbit, while tightening American safety and emissions requirements made the old air-cooled design increasingly difficult to justify. The Beetle had survived enormous cultural and technological change, but regulations eventually achieved what decades of competitors could not. The convertible lasted longer in America than the regular Beetle, giving loyal customers one final opportunity to buy the familiar air-cooled machine. Convertible production ultimated 281 examples between 1949 and January 10, 1979, with roughly 10,700 produced for the final model year. Many enthusiasts already understood that an era was ending, so some 1979 cars were purchased as collectibles rather than ordinary transportation. And one buyer took that idea to an almost unbelievable extreme. The original owner purchased this river blue metallic 1979 Super Beetle Convertible new, drove it home, placed it in storage, and essentially left it alone. Eventually, the owner returned to Germany, while the Volkswagen remained in the United States. Decades passed. The car accumulated only 266 miles or 428 kilometers and somehow escaped the usual collection of parking lot dents, sun damage, questionable aftermarket radios, and repairs performed by someone's cousin who knows German cars. Then Larry Kosilla of AMOM NYC was brought in to awaken it. Remarkably, the Beetle had apparently never received a proper wash during its private ownership. After nearly 46 years, the cleaning became less a normal detailing job and more automotive archaeology. Dirt disappeared, chrome regained its shine, and the lights and exterior trim emerged looking remarkably close to their 1979 condition. My neighbor Bob would call this proof that garages slow time itself, then explain that artificial intelligence and aliens are collaborating to raise property taxes. Underneath that wonderfully familiar shape sits the classic Volkswagen formula. A rear-mounted, air-cooled flat-4 engine driving the rear wheels through a 4-speed manual transmission. For 1979, this Super Beetle used a 1.6-liter electronically fuel-injected engine rated at 48 horsepower with 75 lb-ft of torque. Those numbers sound modest today because they are modest. Nobody bought a Beetle convertible to challenge a muscle car at a traffic light. Its appeal came from simplicity, character, economy, and an engine that seemed perfectly happy performing its duties without submitting a written complaint to management. The Super Beetle differed technically from the earlier standard Beetle, most notably through its front suspension arrangement. Rather than the traditional torsion, bar front axle layout associated with older bugs, the Super Beetle adopted McPherson struts, giving Volkswagen more useful luggage space in the front and improving the car's road manners. The engine remained behind the passengers, leaving the front compartment available for luggage and the spare wheel. It was a peculiar arrangement only until you lived with it. Then it became part of the Beetle's charm. After 46 years of storage, however, even a Volkswagen with only 266 miles cannot simply be treated as a used car that spent a long weekend indoors. Fluids deteriorate, rubber ages. Fuel turns into something you would hesitate to pour into an enemy's car, and components can corrode while doing absolutely nothing. The Beetle therefore received new tires and fresh fluids before returning to the road. The biggest problem was the fuel tank. Decades-old gasoline had done exactly what decades-old gasoline does, leaving the original tank in a condition that made replacement the sensible solution. A new tank was installed, while the intake and air filter system were carefully inspected for signs of rodents or other unwanted tenants. Everything was cleared, and the engine was finally started. And here comes the wonderfully Volkswagen part it fired without major drama. After nearly half a century of inactivity, the little 1.6-liter flat-4 returned to life and behaved as though it had merely been waiting for someone to remember where the keys were. Timmy once left a motorcycle untouched for 6 months and needed 2 batteries, 3 neighbors, a case of beer, and a completely unrelated carburetor to get it running. So 46 years suddenly sounds impressive. Even one of the Beetle's wonderfully eccentric original systems remained functional, the windshield washer, which used air pressure supplied through the spare tire, rather than a conventional electric washer pump. It is the kind of engineering solution that sounds questionable when explained at a party and brilliant when you realize it eliminated another electric motor, wiring, and potential failure point. Once mechanically checked, the Beetle finally returned to the road for its first real drive since the Carter administration. The journey covered only about 2 miles or 3.2 kilometers, but considering the car had spent decades stationary, those 2 miles carried more historical weight than many cars accumulate in 100,000. Perhaps the most astonishing detail is inside. The original protective plastic remains on the front seats, helping preserve an interior that appears remarkably close to how it looked when the car was delivered in 1979. There is no modern stereo, no custom steering wheel, no questionable dashboard modification, and no evidence of an owner deciding that drilling 6 holes would improve. A perfectly good German interior. The original buyer selected only one extra, cost option, river blue metallic paint priced at $195. The remaining equipment came with the car's $740 base price, including 21 standard features ranging from the electronically fuel-injected 1.6-liter engine to the lockable glove compartment. In other words, the owner bought one of America's final new air-cooled Volkswagen convertibles, paid extra for the beautiful blue paint, drove it home, and then demonstrated a level of automotive restraint that most enthusiasts could not maintain until Tuesday.